Tell him, McCluskey. Tell him what time it is.
Little Hen says it's time to rock and roll.
All you people are so scared of me.
Come quietly or there will be trouble.
Man, that's just me.
I'm Batman.
This is Sparta!
There is a tiger in the bathroom.
I'm an excellent driver.
If it bleeds, we can kill it.
Pop quiz, hotshot.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Give this job to my friend here. He loves playing in the jungle, right? Right. That's right. Hey, why don't we have dinner?
Sure, when?
In 1,000 years. Too soon.
Hello and welcome to this week's Monday Movie Show. I'm your host Stuart and I'm also joined by Andy.
Greetings and salutations.
You nicked that off Mark from Following the Nerd because he used that, if I remember rightly, when we had him on to do Prometheus. That's exactly the thing he said.
Did he?
Yeah.
No, I didn't. That honestly, it was just like popped in my head.
Yeah, he said the exact same thing when we did Prometheus. And as you can tell, I don't have a cold this week. Well, hey. On this week's show, we have two films to review. They are...
We have the sequel to the classic 80s action movie made a couple of years ago, The Expendables, with Expendables 2, and Take This Waltz.
Which is a romantic drama. I had a feeling you would know nothing about it.
I know it has Michelle Williams in it, but apart from that, I don't really know much of it.
Yeah, I'll go into it when I review the film. It has a lot of Michelle Williams, trust me. On top of that, we have the latest movie news, including some sad news in that, which I've been asking a question on Twitter just to tell me. It's revolving around Tony Scott. I want to know what your favourite Tony Scott films are. Got quite a few responses. But let's kick things off as we normally do with the box office top 10.
The box office top 10, starting with number 10, Offender.
Offender is a small British movie. The reason why it's got in as low as number 10, it's taken £74,000 in its first week, which is not too bad. And lots of films over the last few weeks seem to be able to get into the top 10 no problems by taking around about that much money. As a matter of fact, movies have been able to get in the top 10 by taking less than 50,000. You look at Searching for Sugar Man. Offender is your typical sort of like, it's got a gangster feel to it, but it's not a gangster movie. It centres around kids in Bostels, and they've got gang wars and obviously lots of fighting. From critics, they're sounding like it's not too bad.
Number 9 is Magic Mike, which is the Steven Soderbergh stripping drama starring Channing Tatum and Alex Pettyfer, which is honestly a real surprise. When I saw it, I wasn't expecting it to be as great a performance as it was, and especially from Alex Pettyfer, who's been pretty much downright terrible in everything he's been in. Well written, well directed, well acted, and Steven Soderbergh holding back from hiring every single big actor that he knows in tiny little parts. And number 8 is The Amazing Spider-Man.
Or as I like to call it, The Average Spider-Man. It's a pretty average film. That's the problem I've been having with lots of these blockbuster movies over the summer. There is so much hype placed on them. They just don't seem to live up to the expectations of them. It seems to be the case with The Dark Knight Rises. It was the same with Prometheus. A lot was put on Prometheus and saying that it's going to be this big, huge, massive movie. It has been in box office standards, but when you've watched it, they are quite average. The Amazing Spider-Man, it's a decent enough film, and like we've said every single week, Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man is much better than Tobey Maguire. I agree with that. It's just the rest of the film around it is so very average, and it feels like a stepping stone for Garfield rather than a really good standard film.
And number 7 is Dr. Seuss's The Lorax.
Like with a lot of these kids' animations, it just suffers from the fact that it has a simple storyline and nothing much else. The characters around the Lorax are the things that steals the show, because it's from the people who made Despicable Me. Is it? Or is it Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs?
No, it's Despicable. Well, it might be both actually, but it's definitely Despicable Me.
Yeah, it probably is both, and it has the same thing with Despicable Me. Despicable Me, it's the minions, and this, it's the little cute animals which steal the show, because the Lorax is only in it for about 15 minutes.
And number 6 is Ice Age 4 Continental Drift.
The same kind of problem with Dr. Seuss's The Lorax. It suffers from the fact that the storyline is so simple. It uses the same jokes that's been in the previous 3 films. Scrat steals the show like he's always done, It's just this is a tired formula now, and if they're going to do a fifth film, which they probably will do, but this hasn't done as well as they thought it would do, then they need to bring some better and bigger ideas to the forefront.
They should just do one with just Scrat.
We've said this, but the problem with Scrat though is I don't think he would be able to handle a 90-minute film.
It doesn't have to be 90 minutes. Make an hour-long film with Scrat. The parents will be happy because the kids will be quiet for an hour. At number 5 is also a new animation, Brave, which is Disney and Pixar's latest, which is set in Scotland and follows the main character, Merida, who wishes to change her fate. She does so, but not exactly in the way she thought, and problems arise. It's a really well-animated film. It's just it's lacking that Pixar thing that Pixar's really... This and the last few films they've done have not been up to their brilliant standards. It's well done, it's decent enough, it's just not Pixar enough. At number 4 is Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Dog's Days.
Yeah, we haven't seen Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Dog's Days, and there's probably a decent reason behind that, the fact that they're not very good films. I was unfortunate enough to have to review the second film when it was out on DVD because we never started the show when the first film came out. It did decent enough at the box office. I guess I'm going to be the one who's sucked into reviewing this one when it comes out, seeing as I've actually reviewed the second one. It just seems, again, it's a safe formula. A lot of these films, a lot of kids' films these days seem to treat kids like dummies. The fact that they can't handle a movie that might have a slightly more complex storyline. They just seem to go, oh, let's have a few funny jokes here and there. Let's have a very simple storyline and that'll entertain the kids for 90 minutes.
Number 3 is Step Up for Miami Heat.
Yeah, we haven't seen Step Up for Miami Heat. It follows the same kind of premise as the previous Step Up films. A lot of these dance movies, there seem to be, again, the problem with the story. I seem like a broken record this week. They seem to have a problem with stories. They seem to take their idea that the dance can fully bring the movie along, and let's not just have a story there. And Step Up for Miami Heat is actually taken the worst out of all the Step Up series. It's only taken £680,000 at the box office, and the previous Step Up film took £2 million more than that on its debut weekend.
The word on these does seem to be that with this one that it is all flash and no real story, no substance to it.
That's
it is
the
very
problem
visual.
with them.
Exactly. Number 2 is Dark Knight Rises. Say something new. Come on.
I can't. The problem is I can't see anything new without spoiling it. If you want to hear something new, go back and listen to the spoiler cast we did with Following the Nerd on it. There might be something new in that.
It's worth noting that it's Dark Knight Rises and the number 1 film are the only ones to have broken the £1 million mark this week.
Yeah, that actually is true, and so there's something new for you.
So the number 1 film is still Ted.
Yep, I love Ted. I laughed more than the 6 times in the first 15 minutes alone. You can see her in the middle, it might dip just slightly, but I think the jokes itself and the character development carries the film along really well. There is a few gross out jokes in that, but I found them quite funny myself. It's just Seth MacFarlane finally directing a film on the big screen instead of doing extended episodes of Family Guy. And he's proven that he can actually handle a big screen movie, considering it's taken more than £17 million at the UK box office, which is quite unheard of for a 15 rated comedy. And also in the US it's taken nearly 200 million. Seth MacFarlane is a shoo-in to direct movies in the future. Get bigger budgets actually as well.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that it doesn't go the way of that he gets given too much free rein, because then I can see it going horribly wrong if he did. Or
they'll start to become carbon copies of each other, and they might seem like they're the same kind of films.
like the one things are there's a Family Guy, which then became American Dad, and then the Cleveland Show, which essentially they are clones of each other.
That episode has not been shown in this country. The reason being is because the BBC own the rights to new episodes of Family Guy.
Has there been an episode that did that, actually? Has there been one because
the BBC own the full rights to Family Guy, new episodes of it. E4 own the full rights to new episodes of The Cleveland Show, and the BBC own the full rights to American Dad, and FX show repeats of them. So there isn't a channel which owns the full rights to new episodes, to all the new episodes, so it hasn't been shown yet, that crossover episode. Right, let's get on with some movie news, and unfortunately we're kicking off with some sad news. British director Tony Scott has died at the age of 68 after committing suicide. The director was seen by witnesses parking his car beside Vincent Thomas Bridge in Los Angeles. He was then seen climbing over the fence where he jumped. The director was famous for directing films including Days of Thunder, True Romance, Enemy of the State, Unstoppable, and most famously Top Gun.
There has actually been a bit of sort of breaking news on this front from people online. Have actually put out news there that he had been diagnosed with inoperable brain cancer. So it seems that that's the reason why he has committed suicide. Early on it was announced what had happened, but no one knew any further details. So that is what People Magazine's website is announcing, is saying on there.
Yeah, it's really sad news, and like I said at the start of the show, I've been asking people to send us what films from Tony Scott they think is the best. We've had quite a few replies. Dizzy Monkey said True Romance. That seems to be a running theme. A lot of people seeing True Romance. He also says Beverly Hills Cop 2, which is the best film of the series.
I'm going to have to go back and watch True Romance again, because I haven't seen it for a long time. I just remember when I did see it, I didn't get into it much. So I need to go back and give that a watch. I might do a thing where, because recently I did a Ridley Scott filmography. I went through all of his films and watched them all and give a sort of a short piece on each one. So I might do the same thing again with Tony Scott. I mean, he's certainly got enough titles there to go through. I mean, I know one of the ones that stands out for me, which a lot of people aren't particularly fans of, but I quite enjoyed a bit, was Spy Game, which is odd for me because I'm not a massive fan of Robert Redford in films, and yet I like that film quite a bit.
Yeah, other people, the Tri-Brand or Gaz on Twitter, he said Days of Thunder. Silver Le Fanfic said True Romance. She even said a quote, which is probably one of the most famous quotes from that film. If there's one thing that this last week has taught me, it's better to have a gun and not need it than need a gun and not have it. Which I think is a genius line.
Wasn't that reused in Alien vs Predator or something?
I wouldn't be surprised if it has been reused. From Page to Screen said True Romance, Man on Fire, Beverly Hills Cop 2, Days of Thunder. Followed with
Man on Fire is a good one. There's a remake. He did have quite a few remakes in his. I mean, you had that as a remake. Taking of Pelham 123, which I think might have been his last big release. Actually, it might have been his last film.
His last big release was Unstoppable.
Oh yes, Unstoppable.
Following the Nerd, Mark from Following the Nerd said Man on Fire, True Romance, and The Last Boy Scout. Neo 55506 said he loves Top Gun. And then he had a run of 4 films: Days of Thunder, Last Boy Scout, True Romance, and Crimson Tide. Sonny Phoenix said True Romance again. He said it was gritty and brutal. It was a really good film. Barker Podcast from the Pod God said True Romance, and Cameron or GameStar Junkie said Man on Fire again. True Romance. And
it seems to be a resounding answer. True Romance seems to be high up there. I'm going to have to watch it again, definitely.
So am I. It definitely is unfortunate that he has passed away. And like Andy said, if it was something to do with inoperable brain cancer, it is still a bit of a dodgy way to do things, though. To commit suicide on a bridge, of all places. It's just not very nice. Though.
There's not. I mean, you can't really.
We can't see anything.
Get yourself in that mind. You can't put yourself in that situation until you're in that situation. So, I think let's move on. I think.
Yep. According to THR, Universal are moving forward with their sequel to Snow White and the Huntsman. However, they plan to drop Snow White and focus more on the Huntsman, which was played by Chris Hemsworth in the original film. The studio planning to shoot the sequel in July next year.
Oh wow! A spin-off with a really boring, terribly accented character.
I can't comment because I've not seen it yet. I've got to wait for it to come out on DVD.
His performance in the film isn't. There's nothing special about it, but his accent in the film is just terrible. Sorry, it just really is.
Well, is there any other character from that film where they could have actually just done it in a way, it's technically is a
They couldn't even
spin-off,
do the
but
dwarfs. They couldn't even do one with the dwarfs because the dwarfs are just so boring as well.
But I'm gonna have fun then, aren't I, when I get to review that film?
Oh yeah.
Next piece of news story, James Gunn, the director of the brilliant Slither, which I love, and Super, is in talks to direct Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. The Hollywood Reporter claims that the executives of the film are in negotiations with Gunn. However, if talks break down with him, they are also eyeing directors Ryan Fleck and Anne Bowden, who worked on Half Nelson, and also Bring It On director Peyton Reed.
I rewatched some of Slither recently, actually, and I remember it. I remember it differently than how I saw it again the other day. There's far more gross out in that film than I remembered.
It's insanely gory for 15.
It is, yeah. It's quite graphic and it's quite, dare I say, disturbing in some parts. He can definitely handle CGI, which, from what I understand of Guardians of the Galaxy, will be fairly CGI intensive. And a bit more of info on Guardians of the Galaxy in another news story coming up in just a moment.
Yeah, I actually quite like James Gunn, especially when he did his trauma stuff. Final news story for me. Shia LaBeouf, one of our favourite actors, has been a busy chap this week when it comes to announcements. First off, the actor has now gone on record by saying that he's no longer going to be starring in any big blockbuster films.
Well, he's already made enough money off 3 Transformers films, hasn't he?
Oh yeah. Instead, he wants to do small indie films and also concentrate on his directing, because he's actually been directing some music videos for Sigur Rós. He has also done one for Marilyn Manson as well. The second announcement from the actor is that he's been told by controversial director Lars von Trier that he'll be doing real sex scenes in his upcoming film Nymphomaniac.
Okay. Comment?
The fact that Lars von Trier has said about Nymphomaniac that he's shooting 2 versions of the film. One where it's more censored down, obviously, because it's not going to get passed uncut over here if it's got real sex scenes in it, even though
it won't in America.
Like,
America is more prudish about sex in films than the UK. The MPAA over there will probably end up giving it the dreaded NC-17, which is basically not going to get distributed in the States.
Well, even though in this country the BBFC has passed films like 7 Songs, Short Bus, The Idiots, which has featured real sex scenes in it, so they're not going to pass it if they've got proper sex scenes in the movie, especially considering it's Lars von Trier.
Well, they had them in, as far as I remember, 7 Songs had them in it.
Yeah, I know.
So I think that got a small release in the States, but the thing is as well, bear in mind in the States they are able to release things on DVD without having them rated. They can give them an NR, which is not rated, rating, whereas here everything has to be rated.
Yeah.
I'll go through my news stories then quickly as I can. Further Scary Movie sequel is going ahead. Yay. Charlie Sheen and Lindsay Lohan have signed on to appear in the movie and to be killed off on screen. The two will join Pamela Anderson and Shaquille O'Neal, to name a few, who've been killed off in the spoof series. David Zucker, who worked on Scary Movies 3 and 4, as well as classic spoof movies like the Airplane and Naked Gun series, is involved as a writer and producer, but the movie, instead of him being directing, is going to be directed by Malcolm Lee.
Whoopee. That's all I can say about the Scary Movie series. They stopped being funny after the first one.
Oh, I quite like the second one at certain points. The third one was just awful, and that's when they took over. Zucker took over on the third one. So this is just going to be bad.
Yep.
Movie rights to the character owned by Marvel of Daredevil apparently are heading back to them from 20th Century Fox. Fox currently holds the right to the character, but in order to keep them, must start production on a movie by October 10th. Director Joe Carnahan had been believed to be prepping an adaptation of the character, but it now seems this has been dropped by Fox. As far as I know, this is to do with the links with that character and other characters that were in the Fantastic Four movies, which are also being done by Fox. So it looks like Fox are deciding to forget about doing anything with Daredevil to focus on the Fantastic Four characters.
Obvious, isn't it? Because Daredevil wasn't the first. The Daredevil film wasn't that successful anyway.
It wasn't, but I've got to admit, I kind of liked it. I did enjoy the Daredevil movie. I liked it. There was a lot of stuff character-wise that was left out from the origin, which is a bit disappointing, but overall I liked the film. Robert Downey Jr. recently injured his ankle on the set of Iron Man 3, resulted in production of the sequel being temporarily halted to allow him to recover. A statement was released by... I don't actually have it down here who it was. I've crossed that off. A statement was released, though, stating that the actor hurt himself while performing a stunt. How long production will be stopped for is unclear, but Marvel said it will be for a short delay, so it's not expected to delay the movie's release.
I don't think I need to comment on that, do I?
No. In other Marvel news, release dates have been announced for both the newest adaptation, Guardians of the Galaxy, as we were talking about earlier, and also the Avengers 2, or the Avengers sequel, which is yet to be given a full title. The lineup of Marvel's Phase 2, as it's called, is now as follows. Iron Man 3 is expected to be released on May 3rd, 2013. Thor: The Dark World, November 8, 2013. Captain America: The Winter Soldier has a release date of April the 4th, 2014. Guardians of the Galaxy has been given the date of August the 1st, 2014. And the Avengers sequel has been given the date of the 1st of May, 2015. There's no announcement yet as to what's happening with Edgar Wright's Ant-Man movie and where this will fit in the schedule.
A lot of films, a lot of Marvel films getting released there. I always find it really suspicious and really stupid that they announced them so far into the future.
Well, one of the things I'm wondering about, especially with that being Ant-Man, because I think Ant-Man is one of the characters that does join the Avengers. I could be wrong on that, but if so, presumably they'll be having a film done with him and released before they release the Avengers sequel, so that they can tie him into it somehow.
Yep.
No? After the shootings at the Aurora Cinema recently, there's been no effect on people doing stupid things like carrying weapons into cinemas. Press reported that a 56-year-old man in Nevada was rushed to hospital when his own gun, which was licensed to carry, accidentally discharged during a viewing of The Bourne Legacy. The man's wound was not life-threatening, with him being shot in the backside. No one else was injured in the incident, but the Nevada state attorney is investigating and may press charges to have the man's license revoked.
Yeah, why would you be stupid enough to take a gun into a frickin' cinema after something like the Aurora shooting happened in the first place? Even if you've got a license to hold a gun, how thick do you have to be to take it into a screening of a cinema where it's going to be packed full of people?
Yeah, it's just it's ridiculous. It's too much gun.
Yeah.
Liberalism, walking around with a gun. He's probably even forgot he had it, sat down on it, and shot himself in the backside. My last piece of news, which I know Stuart's going to absolutely love, John Goodman's been cast in The Hangover Part 3.
I'm still silent.
Variety reports that the actor will be playing a small antagonistic role, probably akin to the character played by Paul Giamatti in the second movie.
Can we just go straight to the break and me not commenting on anything to do with Hangover?
If you want. I just wanted to see what you'd say, yeah.
Okay, then let's go to the break for the games cast, and after that we'll be back with our first review.
Right, advert. What do I need to say in an advert? Well, I need to say that we're the Gamescast. I need to say that we're on Twitter at the Gamescast. I need to say we're on Facebook. I need to say we've got a website, thegamescast.com, and I need to say we're on YouTube. Oh yeah, and we're on this thing called Spreaker.com. Don't know where that came from. What else? That's probably it. Right, better record it. Oh, crap. That was 30 seconds. The Gamescast. Grown-up gamers talking about games. Allegedly.
Hello and welcome back. I was hoping that you would go straight in to do your review for The Expendables 2, because my chair is broken and I need to fix it.
Okay, The Expendables 2. Directed by Simon West, it has the entire cast of the first film pretty much returning, being led by Sylvester Stallone's Barney Ross, as the team in the start of the movie are on a mission to rescue a Chinese billionaire. They go on this mission, have a big massive shootout at the start. You have the whole sort of 10 minutes opening is this big action thing which sets the entire tone of the film. As you know, it's going to be, if you've seen the first one, just a big throwback to 80s action films. Here's a clip.
Trench?
Oh, this is embarrassing.
Yeah, sure is.
What's she doing?
I didn't know you were going to let me go straight
Oh,
into
yeah?
it.
That's funny. So are we.
Well, then we have a sketching problem, don't we? Cut me loose, Frankenstein.
Don't get nuts, Gunner.
I need a weapon. Something big. Yours!
Whoa, 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 whoa. My big weapon's hanging right where it is.
Come on, Caesar, you gotta back up.
If I don't get this back, your ass is terminated.
In your dreams.
Trench, we got a way out.
Thanks. I got my own.
Let's get you out of here, pal.
Hey, look, I hate to break up the bromance. 20 seconds late. Get money bags up!
The thank you would be nice. I hate owing you.
Well, you do, big boy.
After that, the team, as they were, go back to the States, are enjoying the success of their mission, and Barney Ross goes back to his plane, where he's then met by Mr. Church, Bruce Willis's character from the first film, none too happy at the events of the first film, how they panned out, and the fact that Barney Ross's team effectively took the $5 million that he was paying them and botched the job. He sends them on another mission. This time they go to see about getting some cargo from a downed plane that's been shot down in another country. When they're there, they actually get the cargo, but are then intercepted by Jean Villain. If you get the idea of what that is, Villain is played by Jean-Claude Van Damme, who then abruptly steals the cargo and kills one of the members of their team. And in the result of that, the team set out to get revenge, as well as trying to get back this cargo, which can be something that will be very deadly if it gets into the wrong hands. Now, the thing is, here's the thing with Expendables 2. It's just a dumb, big action film. If you're expecting anything more than that, you're definitely going for the wrong kind of thing. You're choosing the wrong film from the options you've got at the cinema. I went and saw this fully expecting that, and I have to say, as a result of that, I went in with no preconceptions of it being brilliant or anything. I just went in with preconceptions. You've got Sylvester Stallone, you've got Arnold Schwarzenegger, you've got Bruce Willis, and then you've got other actors in there like Jet Li, Dolph Lundgren, Chuck Norris is in there. You've got Terry Crews and Randy Couture, who aren't massive things, and you've got the Statham. Now, the whole thing of it is that it is a big, dumb action film. It's directed a lot better than the first one. The first one was directed by Sylvester Stallone while he was acting in it. This time they have a veteran actor-director, action director even, Simon West doing the job, who many people will recognise if I say films like Con Air. Then you'll have an idea of the kind of director he is and the films he's worked on. He really does a better job of it, this, and it's the thing as well with it throughout it. I saw it in a fairly packed cinema, and myself and people I was with and the audience all laughed a lot at it as well, because there are lots of in-jokes and gags that just work in it. It's lots of throwbacks to the characters that they've played in the past, and for me it was just a hoot from start to finish.
And now you're probably waiting to see what I thought about it. Now, the first
as am
one,
I, because I haven't heard anything yet back from you. So
yeah, the first one, as you know, I didn't like it at all. I just thought it was really boring from start to finish. Yes, it was dumb, and I was speaking to somebody a bit earlier on, and when I say a film's dumb and it's really, really bad, he got on to me to saying that you're only saying it's really bad because you think it's a dumb film. I don't have a problem with movies being dumb. Action films, any kind of genre of films, because you look at the Crank series. I like the Crank series, and they are dumb as a bag of spanners. They are completely insanely dumb. It has practically no storyline whatsoever, and they're just insanely over the top action, and it's a really enjoyable film. And I didn't like The Expendables because it was just a dumb, boring film. This one is slightly better, but that's still not to say that it's a good film. It's only slightly better. It's honestly, the dialogue is even worse, I found, than the first film. It's so cheesily bad. It's not funny in my eyes. It's cringeworthy. The things I did like about it is the fact that, yes, there's CGI blood, which I want to punch every director in the face for doing CGI blood.
That's one thing that I really did dislike in it. I really was annoyed by that by the time it got to the end of the film. It was just used too much.
Yeah, the thing I did like about it is the fact that the explosions were real. There were touch-ups using CGI, but all the explosives had that impact of a real explosion. And that's what you want to see in an action film. A lot of action films lately have been going down the CGI route just for the explosions and for the blood, etc. But this one, the natural explosions, and that adds impact. Also, a few of the gunfight scenes are pretty decent because they do feel real. It's just the film around it is so mind-numbingly dumb. All the quotes, what they say, the storyline, the script, the acting is so bad that some people might think, well, you can forgive it because it's a dumb action film. I can't because it's a dumb film.
Oh, we're so disagreeing. We're agreeing that it's a dumb film, but we're just disagreeing on how we reacted to it. I think I loved it. You didn't.
Yeah, I didn't, and I really do get annoyed with people when I see it that it's a dumb film and it's really bad, and they turn around and say you're only saying it's really bad because it's a dumb film. That's not the case, because I've watched loads of horror films in the past, and a lot of these zombie movies are really cheesy and really bad, but they can be really good because they're really cheesy and bad, and they embrace that. This film, the problem is it doesn't embrace its dumbness. It thinks that it's a serious film, but it's not. It's just a dumb, thick, stupid movie that has a few decent set pieces in it, some really nice effects when it comes to the explosions, and nothing else.
No, I'm sorry. I got to disagree on that one. We'll be disagreeing on this one, I think.
Yeah, but let's just say that Andy liked it, and I thought it's sort of like a 2.5-star film.
I liked it. Yeah, I'll agree with that 2.5 star, but it's fun, and I went into it fully expecting it to be what it is. I had no preconceptions of thinking it's going to be brilliant. I just thought it's going to be fun, dumb popcorn action, and it was for me. It did what it says on the box.
Well, it's nowhere in hell is it going to make my even 20 worst list. I've got a list of like 18 films so far of worst films that I've seen, and it's not even going to touch that page. Because there are parts of the film that's actually done quite well, so it's been let off the list. But if the criteria this year, if I was being a bit more lenient and adding just loads of films to the list, then it would probably make my list. But it's not going to, so you can rest assured that I'll not make my worst films of the year.
Oh well, that's a. I'll take that as a good point then. Let's move on before we run out of time.
Yeah, actually, we've got about 12.5 minutes left, and I don't need very much time with this next film anyway. So just put on the poster. Very, very dumb film, but didn't make Stuart's worst films of the year. I wish. Right, next film is Take This Waltz. It's directed by Sarah Polley. It's a second film that she's done. It's a romantic drama. It stars Michelle Williams and Seth Rogen, who play a couple. Michelle Williams plays Margot. She writes sort of like holiday brochures and pamphlets, and at the start of the film she's on a business trip, and she sort of like bumps into this guy who's played by Luke Kirby, who plays Daniel. They strike up a friendship, and she learns that he lives across the road from her when they're coming back from the airport, because they both share a taxi. You can tell that she's smitten in a way. When they get back home, she reveals to him that she's married, and she's married to Seth Rogen's character Lou, who's a chef. He's actually writing a cookbook based around chicken, so every dish that he makes, it's all chicken. Michelle Williams' and Rogen's character, they're married. They've been married for around about 8 years. Their marriage seems really fine on the surface. There are things that starts to niggle at it, because Margot seems to be more smitten with Daniel, who does live directly across the road. One day, there's Rogen's character's family decides to come in and have a party. His sister, played by Sarah Silverman, has a conversation with Williams' character. Here's a clip.
I'll tell you what doesn't help me. Every book you read about it involves, people falling off the wagon 8 times. So, I'm good. I'm really good, but there's this looming, waiting to fail-ness.
You look so well.
I know. Really. I look in the mirror, I want to myself. I honestly think I look better than before I had Tony. Thoughts?
You look amazing.
Thank you. It's the kind of moment where you want to chime in real quick.
I don't think you're gonna fail.
Don't look at me like that. That all earnest, like, look like a baby deer. Next time I wake up in a pile of my own vomit, I'll have to feel guilty about you too.
Don't then.
Wake up in a pile of your own vomit.
Doing my best. It'll be 10 months Tuesday.
That's great.
All right, enough. Get off me. Nobody's died. You're good news, you know that.
So during the rest of the film, you can see that Margot is starting to lose out with her husband Lou, because they play games where they say to each other every single morning or during the day that when I want to kill you, peeling you with a potato peeler, or I want to ball your eyeballs out with a melon baller, or something like that, in joke, in jest. And during the movie, there's times where one of them tries to hug the other, but they've sort of like backed away, and they're wondering why that is. And all in all, while that's happening, Margot is getting more and more in with Daniel. And there's specifically a scene inside of a bar where they're having a conversation about what Daniel would do to Margot, and it goes into some real graphic details. Williams also, she really does like to get her kit off during this movie. There is at least, I counted about 5 times where she is fully naked, and you see absolutely everything. Now the film itself is rated 15. There is one specific scene in a shower where she's completely naked with around about 8 women. Now that sounds like a decent scene, but all of them are over the age of 60, apart from Michelle Williams and Sarah Silverman, because Sarah Silverman's naked in the film as well. There is some graphic detail when it comes to the swearing and the sexual acts that Daniel wants to do with Margot, so it's actually pushing the boundaries of a 15 considering what it can get away with. Now the film itself, surprisingly, is really good. It flows really well. It has no problem with any editing problems whatsoever. It doesn't bog down with the storyline, because the storyline's really well. The reason why the storyline flows nicely is because Michelle Williams, she's fantastic in it. She's fantastic as Margot. She's one of these characters who you keep on questioning. Why is she not attracted to her husband anymore? All he's trying to do is trying to write this cookbook about chicken dishes, and he just wants a normal marriage. And why is she more attracted to this Daniel person? Seems to be sort of like the roguish guy who runs around with a rickshaw, because that's what he does as his day job. He's a rickshaw driver without a bike. He actually just pulls it along like you would see in China, and at night he likes to paint, and so that's maybe the reason why she's more gravitating towards that. She does make a few stupid decisions down the line, and you're thinking, why the hell are you doing that? But it's more endearing to her character, and overall I was surprised at how well this film is. Every single actor is fantastic in it. Seth Rogen can be annoying, but he's not annoying in this. Sarah Silverman, if you don't like a comedy, you'll love her in this, because it's more of a dramatic drama role. And Luke Kirby, even though he doesn't have a lot to do with Daniel, when he's with the scenes with Michelle Williams' character, he's really, really good. And so every actor in this film is really good. It runs for an hour and 50 minutes, and it doesn't even feel like that. So when a film runs for that long, and it feels like it's run for about 70 minutes, then you know it's a really good film, and you've got yourself attached to it. I was surprised, and I actually really liked it. I thought it was a really good film.
I was curious about it. I haven't had a chance to see it, but I do want to see it because I'm interested to see it based on it being a Sarah Polley film, because she has this. There's just something about the way that she sees the world in the film she does. I can't remember what she did, but she did a film a while ago, and it's just, I don't know why, but something of that stuck with me. And her name stood out that I know, because she's an actress. She's been in loads of things acting before. And it's just you get lots of actors who make that step from acting to directing, and there's nothing. I mean, you get like Ben Affleck has been a good director, but he's not a brilliant director. Whereas it seems Sarah Polley really has a good director's eye.
Because the way I think Sarah Polley is doing it is because I think she's sticking with things that she's more stronger with. Yeah, she's gone into directing, and some directors sort of like when they direct their first films after being an actor, they seem to try to attempt something different to go away from what they've done previously. But if you are going into directing, because directing can be a really hard thing to do, it's best to stick with something that you know about. And Sarah Polley seems to know about relationships and how the structure of relationships can work, whether it be just a simple storyline of a couple, or a more complex storyline where you introduce one or two or three more characters trying to break this couple up. And she seems to be able to handle that really well and get the best out of her actors. And it proves it because even you've got to agree that Seth Rogen can be annoying during some of the films that he's been
in. Immensely.
But you're not annoyed by him in this movie because what she's done with his character is it's sort of like stripped him back and told him to stop being the sarcastic person that you normally are. Stop being the loud person that you normally are. Just play the character natural. And that's what it feels like. It feels like a natural film, and she's got the best out of her actors that way. So I highly recommend it if it's shown in a cinema close to you. I really do recommend you go and see it because it's a really, really good film, and it surprised me. But
okay. I'm going to try and see if I can get to it, but unfortunately, I don't think it is showing near me, which is the problem.
That's what's surprising me about doing this show. We seem to be getting films that we think that this is going to be rubbish, and then we watch it and we get surprised, and that's what's so awesome about doing a show like this. Right, that's it for the cinema part of the show. We'll be back in a moment with the Blu-ray and DVD section of the show. This will be up on iTunes, so please leave a comment on that and a rating also. It'll be up on the usual places, but we'll announce where you can find it at the end of the DVD and Blu-ray part of the show. So we'll see you in a moment, live on Spreaker.